Welcome, everybody. We are doing a call today for new people who are starting the Life Crafting Gold program as part of our business launch framework. And the purpose of this call today is to do an overview. It's a bit of an orientation where we're going to go through all the parts of the Gold program and cover that in depth. And this is something, of course, you'll want to go through when you start the program. And with me today is Neetu Bhandari, who is right now starting the program. So she'll be here and asking questions and making comments, so to fill in any gaps that may occur. And let's get started, okay? So welcome, Neetu. Excited to have you and excited have you be starting this amazing adventure.
Thank you.
One of the things about the Gold program is that some people who are starting the Gold program are actually upgrading from Jumpstart, so they already have some familiarity with our structure, with the Promise Game and the Mastermind and our belief clearing system. But others may be starting from scratch, and you may be coming right in to Gold and not, going into Jumpstart. So in either case, I want to just say that, and as a foundation, it's very, very important to learn everything about the Promise Game, about Mastermind, and about our clear beliefs process, which is all part of Module 1. So in the Life Crafting program, Module 1 covers all those foundations, and it also covers the foundation of taxi job or cash flow. So if you are in any way in your life in a situation where you still need to work on stabilizing your short-term cash flow, and you're in the Gold program, that's completely fine, because everything in Jumpstart is still available to you. It's all Module 1. And in Gold, you have access all the way through Module 4. So you can certainly work on those things and find to spend time on that to whatever extent you need to. But what we're going to concentrate on here is beginning with Module 2 and then moving forward, okay? So first and foremost, the purpose of the Gold program in Life Crafting is to empower you to clarify your life purpose and unique genius, and then craft an ideal business from that in which you make money doing what you love. And that's the aim of this program. It's really quite an extraordinary leap forward in your life to really be able to accomplish that. Once your business is launched and created, and it's absolutely your highest expression and your ideal life path, then it simply becomes a matter of advancing on that path, on that journey, and building your business and using all the various many tools we have for marketing your business, and then getting clients and serving your clients and building a tribe and all the things associated with that, which we're going to cover. So this is quite an exhilarating adventure, and I want to applaud you watching this and getting started with this. I want to really acknowledge you for taking this giant step in your life and giving yourself this amazing gift. And you can be assured that you'll have an amazing community here, a support team and community to help you every step of the way. Okay, so let's get started then with Module 2. So the purpose of Module 2 is specifically to help you clarify your life purpose and unique genius, and to really identify what those are. And the way we accomplish that is we have a very well-established methodology for doing this. It's not hit and miss at all. It's not it's not eeny meeny miny mo. It's not any kind of the typical things that people do in society when trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up. It's a very in-depth journey, or what I sometimes call deep dive into the center of your being, into the core of who you are, and to access that inner knowing that really exists in everybody, but we don't we're not always aware that it's there, and we're certainly not taught in our educational system, or whatever, our parents, our, our religious life. We're not taught that this lives inside us and it's accessible to us. And so in life crafting, you have the opportunity to not only know that it's there, see that it's there, find it, access it, know it, verify to the fullest extent that you need to that it's true. Because one of the things people always wonder about, well, how do I really know that I found it? How do I really know when I found the truth for me, or when I found my purpose? And I think that part of the reason why people ask that question is because they think that the verification or validation really exists in their mind, and it doesn't exist in their mind. So that's the first. It's kind of like trying to find an ocean in Nebraska that you can look there for a very long time, but you're not going to find an ocean there. So where you wind up validating that you have found that your deepest truth is through a feeling and an intuitive level awareness. So what this really means is that in order to do module 2, you have to be able to feel. You have to be able to sense, and you have to be able to connect with that place of inner knowing inside of you. And you will also, as you connect to that inner place and go deep into it, you will also develop a kind of a trust, a communication, and also a trust, which of course brings up another point. A lot of people don't trust themselves. They've been, feel as though they betrayed themselves so many times in their life that, their level of trust is damaged, and they don't really feel that they can trust it. So in a sense, you're restoring and rebuilding your sense of self-trust as you embark on this journey. But I want to stress that the discovery and exploration process that you're embarking upon here is really, really fun and playful and light, and it's really like being a kid in the sandbox. This is not, this is not a serious, this is not a complex intellectual process. It's not, difficult or whatever. I will acknowledge that there will be times in the course of this when you may encounter some confusion or uncertainty. That's to be expected. There will also very possibly be times when you feel something deeply, that emotion may come up, some sadness or regret or other feelings, maybe a recognition that you've always kind of known this, but for whatever reasons, you never gave yourself permission to know it or to say it. So sometimes there's sadness or there's feelings that come up when that happens, which is completely fine and natural and understandable. The point is, though, that it's all available, that the information is there. And we use a wide variety of means to help you get to that truth, to that information. I'm going to just roughly go through some of the main things that we do in Module 2 that will be basically your toolkit that you're going to be using. So the first thing that you're going to be doing is what I describe as an analytical assessment, an analytical clarification or assessment tool. These are just very, very simple questions to answer or explore, where you'll be doing writing. So there'll be a question and then you'll simply write an answer that comes to you, and then you'll do whatever amount of writing you want. So there's a freedom there to write, as little or as much as you would want to write an answer to a particular question. And there's no right answer. You can't make a mistake, and you can't, do it wrong. There's no way of doing it wrong. So you'll be doing writing, and then one of the things we use a great deal in Module 2 is a very much of a dialogue and exploration dialogue, and all your discoveries are progressively evolutionary. That means what I mean by that is that on any given day, you might have an answer to a question, which is totally fine and complete, for that moment. And then I might say, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I might ask you something, and you might take that question that I give you and you might, run with it a little bit and explore that a little bit. And then 3 days later, you may have a completely different answer to the original question. And the reason for that is because you peeled a layer of the onion down. You just peeled it down, because everything is in layers, right? And our truth lives in layers inside us, okay? And as we peel the layers down, we get to deeper levels of knowing, deeper levels of truth, deeper levels of insight, deeper levels of vision, inspiration, and connection to our source, connection to our divine nature. But I want to emphasize, there's no right and wrong, so you do whatever. Having many years experience with this, I know kind of what questions to give you that will allow you to go further. And it's that ability to go back and forth and to keep exploring and writing and exploring and writing is the magic. I mean, the magic is is really in that continued exploring, okay? But that's one dimension of module 2, which is where we start with questions and you explore and you write and you do writing. And it's good to get you into the mode of writing, because writing is a beautiful vehicle for, learning, discovery, etc. As you do this, we want to be very cognizant of things that come up for you. So if you notice some fear come up, that's fine. We want all emotions, all experiences to be whatever's present to be there. We honor everything. We honor, respect everything. Nothing is ever wrong. Nothing is ever judged, okay? No matter what comes up. So, at the same time, there could very well be, some fear that comes up, or terror, or whatever, strong feelings. And those are going to be opportunities to look at beliefs, that may be embedded, in those emotional patterns, and then just, work our way back to the clear beliefs process, and be able to identify the beliefs that are operating there, and then shift those beliefs. And once those beliefs are shifted, then come back to the discovery and exploration process. So that's kind of one of the typical things that happens. The more consistent that you are, the more diligent and consistent that you are in moving through these things, the quicker you will move forward and progress, and the faster you will reach your target, your core, your core truth, or really understanding your life purpose. Now, the next thing that we use a great deal of in this module 2 is imagination. Now, imagination, we know, is probably the most powerful aspect of human nature that is seriously underutilized, and certainly underappreciated and under-encouraged within all facets of our society and education. But it is the most important quality that we have as human beings. And Albert Einstein, of course, the famous quotation, imagination is more important than knowledge. Most people have heard that and know that and even quote it, but they don't use their imagination very much. What has occurred for a great many people is that imagination has become a rather atrophied muscle, a muscle that is atrophied over time from misuse. The muscle of imagination is also very closely associated with your inner child and the desire to play. Life purpose is very closely connected to the inner child and the expression of play, way more than it is your intellect and your brilliant mind. Although I'm certainly a fan of the brilliant mind. I mean, I don't think there's any, any problem with having a brilliant mind and using it, and as part of your, as part of your creative process. But we do give you things in module 2 that are designed to deliberately ignite your imagination. Okay, and some of it is not only to get the result of what your imagination will give you, which of course is fantastic and great, but it's to get you to flex the muscle, and to really reignite and heal that tool of imagination that is available to you, and start becoming comfortable again with using that muscle. And you will be completely, utterly blown away when you start to realize the power that you have within you from just using your imagination, and to see possibilities that you never conceived of before, universes of possibility, and then tying that together with play and fun and creativity and all the things that go with that, are really quite extraordinary. Okay. So now there's still more to module 2. So let me, I'm going to give you sort of the ultimate, well, I don't know, I guess you could say it's sort of our ultimate tool, our secret weapon with regard to module 2. And that is something I mentioned to you the other day, Neetu, is what we call clarity dialogue, the clarity dialogue process. Okay. And you're going to learn, the clarity dialogue process. You're going to become really good at it and skilled at it, kind of like belief work, but it's in a whole different realm. So what we're going to be working on together is I'm going to be guiding you initially through a bunch of clarity dialogues, so you can be on the receiving end when you don't really need to know anything or, have any skill or knowledge, anything. Just can enjoy being on the receiving end and, have the fun of that, and then observe the process, kind of notice the process going on, while you're going through it, but you can sort of see it from up here and looking down. And you'll see the elegance and the simplicity of it, the naturalness of it, the total innocence of it, and yet the extraordinary power, the power that lives in it. So what is clarity dialogue? Well, it's a way to interact and explore possibilities, and it's a way to do a question and answer, like to do an inquiry. The best example, the best word for clarity dialogue is it's a deliberate, conscious inquiry. So deliberate, conscious inquiry into yourself, the deepest part of you and the universe and spirit and whatever else. It's a deliberate, conscious inquiry where you take something you're curious about, and you want to know more about it. You want to clarify or know more about it. And we embark on an inquiry. And things come up, and we never know what's going to show up because it's all kind of magical. And whatever shows up, shows up. And then we ask more questions. And again, we don't know what's going to happen, but it's what makes it so amazing. And then other stuff comes up, and we ask more questions. And as we go down doing this, there's this very, very beautiful visual element that we include in this. It's a mapping. It's a visual mapping process that you will see that we use. It's this software. I'll just tell you the name of the software is Coggle. Coggle, Coggle. You can check it out online. It's a mapping, like a mind mapping type of software. And we use Coggle with the inquiry. So we do the inquiry, question, answer, throw out ideas, possibility, then we map. We keep creating like this sort of visual map, mind map of all of the areas where we go. So there's like a visual record of it. And then we save that, and you can take that and save it to your hard drive and create a PDF or print it out or whatever. And what's amazing about the map, to the clarity dialogue map, is it's also a it's also an evolutionary document, which means it doesn't ever end. It's never necessarily 100% complete. So you can carry, it's like clay, like molding clay, magical clay, which you can mold as much as you want, and you can stop, you can keep it, you can harden it, you can use it in the world, whatever. And then 3 years later, you can soften the clay again, and you can keep molding it and changing it and redesign completely. So it's always in a state of potential aliveness. Hold on just one moment. I'm going to pause us here. Okay, so to continue where we were talking about clarity dialogue, and I was explaining that you carry it forward to whatever point you feel is you've reached the conclusion for the moment, like you've gotten the insights, you made discoveries, and then it's paused, but you can revisit it at any time to carry it forward, to edit any portions of it that have been done and redo them again. So it's really truly like clay, which can be remolded however you want to. Now, one of the things that makes clarity dialogue quite amazing is the fact that we merge many things together in clarity dialogue. First of all, there's discovery and insight, peeling the onion, getting deeper insights. We use imagination, so that's built into it. We use creativity, where we explore possibilities and ideas and play with things, make up things. We use feelings because we rely on the ability to feel into something, so it's not purely mental. We use intuition. And finally, we use language. Language is very, very important because our reality on planet Earth is language-based. We live in a language-based society, and if we don't have words to describe something, it doesn't really exist for us. We won't trust it if we don't have words for it. So in the final analysis, what we're aiming for is clarity that resonates, inwardly, but which also can be expressed verbally in such a true and compelling manner that whoever's listening to you, it will just go clunk in their reality. It'll just go clunk, and it'll feel like this is your truth, and there's no doubt that it's the truth for you. And that's evolutionary as well. Nothing is 100%. And this brings me to our most overarching saying in all of life crafting that supersedes everything, that goes way back to the early 1980s when we first began. You ready for the slogan, the ultimate slogan of life crafting?
Yes.
I'm sure you haven't heard this yet.
Uh-huh.
This saying is, you're always molding the clay.
You're always molding
the saying is, you're always molding the clay, and you never stop. You're always molding the clay. You've never stopped.
Okay.
You never stop molding the clay. Got that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. So that, how do we wrap up module 2? So how do we get to the end and wrap it up? So in the end, after we've done all this work on all these different tools of clarity, and we've gotten tons and tons of information and knowledge and insight, and we've recorded all of that, we've captured it, we didn't lead anything sort of escape, we've captured it in a writing, whatever, drawings, writings, whatever. We then enter the final stage of module 2, which I call the ping pong game. That's what we call it. It's called the ping pong game. And the reason we call it that is because it's absolutely exactly like ping pong. And the way that it works is that you take all of your discoveries and insights and everything you've learned, and you maybe summarize it down to, say, 1 or 2 paragraphs, perhaps, and then maybe distill it down to maybe 2 or 3 sentences, whatever. And then when we start the ping pong game, you tell me what you think it all is, what it all adds up to. And then I say to you, okay, I take a couple minutes and sort it all out and get a sense what I think it really means. And then I say to you, okay, Neetu, I think what you kind of mean is this. Tell me if this feels right. and you listen to me and you write down what I say and you say, kind of, sort of, but not really 100%. So then you revise that, whatever, and then you hit the ball back over the net to me and you say, well, this is really more like it. And so then I take what you say and I mold it and shape it and play with it a little more, edit it. And then I hit the ball back to you and you say, wow, that's pretty damn good. That's sort of good. That's really good. But I think you need a little more of this and maybe a little less of that and whatever. And then you hit the ball back over the net to me, and we do the same thing. So we may do that a few times. And then you say to me, that's it. And when you say those words, that's it, we have completed the process and we've completed module 2.
Nice.
That's the end of module 2. So that's the progression. I think you get a pretty good sense of the idea of it, right?
Yeah, I have one question here now.
Only one? Wow.
Maybe, yeah, let's say, let's start with the first question. So I got the idea about module 2 about different facets. So I know that for entrepreneurship or business, creativity is the hallmark. So where does creativity fit in? Like, is imagination is creativity imagination, or imagination in action is creativity? Where does creativity comes here? Like if I want to hone my creativity, because creativity is required for.
I would say that creativity and imagination, how I would say it, is that they intersect each other. They're like bubbles intersecting.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can be imaginative just for the sake of imagining, or where there's no other purpose, just to imagine. Then we can also be creative, where we're creating possibilities and we're trying things out, and we're using imagination in order to create. So there's a way in which they overlap, but they're also distinct.
Okay.
I would say that most of the time, creativity includes imagination in some way, usually, not always, usually. But imagination can be all by itself as its own distinct thing.
Okay. So,
Okay. Yeah.
My second question is, so do we have a practical tool or an anchor point in this gold program which helps me increase or hone my creativity skills?
Absolutely, all the time. We're doing it all the time. Absolutely, of course.
So we do have practical tools.
Yeah, you're going, yes. And let me give you an example of that. Would you like an example?
Oh yes, example is the best way to understand something.
Okay, so I might say to you, and this is kind of one of my favorite things that I do with people, and in the program is I'll say to them, need to make up a story for me about, here's a topic, and make up a story for me about it. Just whatever comes to mind. And then you'll just spontaneously make up a story, do whatever, put it all together and tell me the story. And then I'll say, wow, that's fantastic. I love it. It's really great. Now make up another story. Okay. And so just like I said earlier, like flexing the muscle of imagination that's mostly atrophied. Creativity is similar in that it's somewhat atrophied. Now, maybe when you were a software engineer, you had different possible designs, software designs, you explored the different ones that you could go with. And maybe you had a team that you were a part of and you threw around ideas until you sort of settled in on which is going to be the best design for this particular project that you want to use. But there were a number of options. It was not just like one size fits all. There could have been different choice points, right? So the same is true in all areas of life. There's many ways to go, many different things, no right or wrong, just different options. You also have a lot of learning, trial and error. So you can create an idea, a possibility or a story, and you can begin to work with it and pursue it a while. And then you might hit a point a little ways down the road where you might say, well, there's something that doesn't quite feel right about this, and I'm not sure what that is, but It feels like there's kind of something missing or an off track. And so we pause, we go in, we really take it apart, we look at it, we use clarity dialogue, we use different things. We see exactly where the tweaks are that are needed. We remove the parts that are not a fit. We add the parts that are missing, just like clay, just like molding the clay. And we get you back, you know, in alignment again, and then you move forward. So it's an absolute ongoing creative journey, creative process, always going to deeper levels of the truth. And to just reiterate again, you know that you found your life purpose when you feel it, when you know it inside you, when you feel it. And in most cases, I have found that when people uncover their life purpose and they're really connected to it internally, it's very, very emotional. It's very moving because it's really like knowing the divine in you. It's feeling and knowing the divine in you. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. And you can absolutely get to that. And once you do, it becomes like a gyroscope. It becomes like a vector, like a beacon, like a compass thing. Because as you're moving forward in life, you never lose that knowing. That knowing never goes away because you've anchored it inside you. So as you pursue things, whether business goals or projects, whatever, you're always reminded again, what's your true north on your compass? Like, where is your real heading, that where you're really going in? And so you're able to get really back on track again. You're back on track and you remove doubt. This is one of the big things. People have so much doubt in their life about their choices, you know, and one of the most remarkable things about life crafting and module 2 in particular is that we welcome doubt. We don't squash doubt or push doubt aside. We welcome doubt because doubt is simply information. It's simply feedback that there's something we need to look at. There's something there we need to look at. So it could be just something as simple as a fear. Doubt could be a simple fear, which is just a belief that can become discreated. Or doubt might be some piece that's missing, or something that's not expressed in the best possible way it could be. So by knowing that you can eliminate the doubt, when the doubt arises, you can honor doubt, can respect it, and you can resolve it whenever you want to. Effectively, what that means is that you go back to a place of inner certainty, that place of inner knowing and inner certainty and inner confidence, really whenever you want to. It's not like this elusive thing. Oh, I'm hoping and I don't know where it is, but I'm hoping that I find it somewhere. Gone, completely gone. It's that you are able to anchor in that truth, and you're literally a walking beacon of a person speaking the truth wherever you go. Now that alone is compelling, is unbelievably compelling, right? But when you combine it with all the other things that you learn, you start to realize the power that you have.
Nice.
So does that feel like we've covered module 2 pretty well?
I think so. For me, it is the first time, so yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
now,
I'm
and if
liking
anything,
I'm liking the flow of the module 2, like how we would be
yeah,
progressing.
you see that this NITU is the foundation of the GOLD program. It's
Okay.
building a foundation in your career playground. This is like the real you. Just be aware. I just want to give you the warning. I was told by several people that I should give this warning to people who are embarking on this. So I will do that. Sometimes, not necessarily always, sometimes the journey of module 2 can be an emotional roller coaster ride, and it can bring up a lot of unresolved feelings from the past, because you are going back down to that core of yourself, you know, as a child or as a pure being, and you're noticing all these layers of beliefs and blocks and obstacles and sabotage and barriers and things that have been added along the way. And so sometimes there's, you know, feelings that come up about that. But if we use the practice of honoring whatever you feel, of not pushing it aside or suppressing it or denying it, and just honoring it and being in a safe, loving environment where all feelings are accepted and you can express everything and you're going to be loved and given lots of compassion for it and to heal those things, then you'll move through everything, anything and everything. There have been a few people now and then over the years, and I'm just saying this just so that it's out there on the record, who were so profoundly triggered emotionally by some of these things that they literally ran away, that they could not confront it, and they just simply ran away. And that's one of the reasons for my joke about Indiana. They tell that silly thing about, the program works as long as you don't move to Indiana and not leave a forwarding phone number. Remember that whole silly thing? So it's a throwback to the 1980s when people used to have a forwarding phone number,
Uh-huh.
So it's my silly joke from the 1980s. So, but people do have some quite extraordinary, extreme, emotionally reactive mechanisms that I've come to learn over the years, impossible to fathom and impossible to predict. Like
Mm-hmm.
people who sign up for the program and literally just disappear and I never see them again. Or people who, whatever, doesn't really
Really?
matter. Oh
It is?
yeah, there's been all kinds of stories. I could go on and on with stories. I don't want to bore you with the stories, but we don't want them on this recording necessarily to discourage people. But there are things that can come up. But so there is going to be the importance of trust, and beyond everything, the biggest single thing is communication. So when you go through this program, you have to be 1,000% committed to communicating consistently and honestly all the time, no matter what you're going through, and to build a level of trust that no matter what it is, it will be okay, and I will support you, and others will support you, and you'll get through it, and there's life at the end of the tunnel, and you'll get to the other side of it. Understandably, this is a big deal because you're going down to your core place, and your whole life and your future is an expression of what you find. So it's an amazing, fun process. I mean, I want to emphasize an amazingly exhilarating and fun process, but understand that of course there's other aspects of it that can be uncomfortable from time to time. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, good. So let's move on to module 3. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, very good. Okay. So module 3 represents the first step, because module 2 all lives in your bubble. It's all within your universe. There's no consideration in module 2 whatsoever about what exists in this universe outside of you. We don't focus on anything except on your world and what exists in your bubble of reality. Okay, we don't wonder about who's going to like something, who's going to buy something, we don't do any of that, because those are the things that people invariably do in the normal course of events, and it absolutely derails them every time. It just completely knocks them for a loop, and they're gone. And so we've learned from years and years and years of experience, don't do that. Stay away from that. Do things in clear stages and steps. So module 3 represents the first movement outward out of your bubble, out into the immediate bubble around you. So we're moving outward into the world in slow stages, okay? And so what the focus of module 3 is, it's the focus on identifying your market niche, identifying your market niche. What that means is, basically in simple terms, now that you know what you love, and you also know what your genius is, like what you can do in the middle of the night in your sleep, like you're just brilliant at it and effortless, and you can do that. So we know that stuff. And now we're saying, okay, how can I do what I love and create value in the world for others? Value in the world for others connected to what it is I truly love. And not only how can I create value, which translates normally into what problems can I solve for people or groups or organizations or whatever it is, how can I solve a problem that relates to what I'm good at and to what it is I love? I mean, that's the most fundamental way in which human beings connect to the world. They connect to the world being of service to others, and the way you're of service to others is through helping people solve problems that other people are faced with. And it's the foundation of all marketing. Marketing 101 is value and solving problems. Okay. And so the other thing that we identify in module 3 is not only how can you create value and what's the greatest value you can create, but also who are the people that are the absolute best match for your gifts, for who you are and for your gifts, and what is it that you can do for those people. And I'd say that the absolute highlight of module 3 is a series of interviews that you will wind up doing with the people that fall in that domain, where you're going to go through a very systematic kind of an interview, like a kind of a market research type of interview. But the thing I want to stress about this is that this is very, very intimate, because you're going to work with people on things that are painful, that are really painful for them, that may have been difficult or painful for a long time, where there's a lot of frustration or a lot of chronic whatever. And so you're going down into this arena and you're opening this doorway to not only connect to their pain, but also their level of desire to want to have a better life, to want to improve their life, to want to heal their life, and to see what that would be. So when you finish an interview, you've made a very deep personal connection with somebody, and you've gotten to learn about them. You've built trust. You're not selling anything. There's no product. There's nothing to buy. There's just, knowing, knowledge. And you've opened this door to this solution that could truly, truly, finally, resolve whatever it is that they need and want. Okay? And then at the end of module 3, you come up with a wording, with a description, which we normally refer to as the "what do you do" statement. So when you go out in the world and people say, "What do you do?" There's that common, like networking events or public events, socially, whatever. People will oftentimes, just in getting to know you, they'll say, "Neetu, what is it you do? What do you do in the world?" Right? And rather than say, "Well, I'm an engineer," or "I'm a teacher in a high school," or "I'm a this or that," we don't use labels, because labels are the kiss of death. Because labels are, we describe with this very brief little description, which we call the "what do you do" statement. The "what do you do" statement that characterizes this thing that you do that is powerful and transformational and meaningful and personal, stated very succinctly, in a compact way, but a meaningful way, and people get it. They go, "Wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic." Okay? And that ends module 3. So once you've done all that work and you've now you're done with module 3. Any questions on that so far?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so now module 4 is the place where the ultimate magic of bringing everything together, where we bring everything together and we create what's called a package program. This is the place where we design your product, your program that you're going to deliver to the world, that represents your genius, your passion, and your gift and your problem that you're solving to exactly that group of people who can most benefit from what it is you have. And it's all done in a package program. What do I mean by that? We use something called a leveraged business model. You may have read that when you watched the Five Secrets webinar.
Yeah.
The idea of the leverage business model is you're not racing your bicycle at 100 miles an hour and trying not to get burned out. You're not selling things for nickel and dimes and thinking you have to get 500 customers or clients in a month, which you'll never do, and you get burned out. Okay, so the leverage model means that you're going to create something that delivers so much value that you can charge a higher price point for it. What I mean by higher price point, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or more for a 3-month or a 6-month program, so that you only need a few clients to be able to make a reasonably good income, and then as a starting point, and then as you become more adept at marketing, you build a reputation, you build a brand, you build visibility in the world, you build partnerships, and you grow, and you bring technology into the mix. You progressively work your way up in a stair-step manner where 10, 20K a month or more, becomes possible and easily attainable. But it's progressive. It's progressive. So we're not doing pie in the sky or shoot for the moon out of the gate or any of these kind of ridiculous things. We're doing a very, very step-by-step process where you have milestones and you can achieve them, and you can celebrate them, and you can see the victory and the wonderful gain with each milestone, and then you can work your way from that point. And then beyond gold, we also have platinum, and the platinum really deals with the online marketing world. Well, it involves more like public speaking and having your signature talk and mastering the enrollment process, which is sales. So mastering the enrollment process, having your signature talk, speaking to groups, having online videos that you can have people coming to all the time to see what you do, to set up appointments on a regular basis. So we have all those things available as the next step up, and a lot of technology that can be used on the internet to further develop and automate your marketing systems and your processes. And we also will help you develop entry-level, various kinds of entry-level programs that can get people in the door quickly. So when you have an entry-level program that's lower cost, it acts as a good way, to get people on board quickly and to get some cash flow going, and then work them up the ladder to the more expensive programs as they build trust in you, as they build, value, they gain value, they build trust, the relationship grows, and it becomes obvious that, that you can give them more if they step up to the next step. So we model everything in life. Everything is all modeled after the same idea, and you will build your own version of that, your own progressive version of that, but it'll be your version. So even though there's certain similarities, but it's going to be all, what you decide and what feels right to you. Okay. Yeah. And while all this is going on, we're maintaining our support system. We're maintaining our communication. We're continuing the promise game. We're continuing mastermind. We're continuing the belief work. So we're doing all those things. We're just adding components and tools into the mix. So we're adding Clarity Dialogue into the mix so that we're never losing the old. We keep using the old, and we add in the new, right? And even Taxi Job and Playground, which is a foundational distinction, we don't lose that. So if somebody might be 7 a year later, and for some reason, some circumstance may arise in their life where they need to go back, and review something basic, it's always available. It's always there. You can always go back and relearn something or go deeper. And needless to say, the astrological component also doesn't go away, because as we get to our 6-month point or beyond, we're always able to check back on your birth chart and the transits to be able to see what's, where you are in sync with your spiritual growth, your evolution, and again, alignment, create alignment with that. So we never lose anything. We're always combining and adding pieces and never taking anything away. Sound good?
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you ultimately will reach a point where, in the not too distant future, like 3-6 months time, where you're able to be, really out in the world and really representing who you are and speaking confidently about it, and building what we call momentum on your confidence success spiral, where every win builds success, and then another win, and then another success, and it builds a kind of momentum. And you ultimately become unstoppable, because you're building off of the truth, you're working with the truth, and you're using tools that move you forward in a conscious and deliberate way, being of service, being of the highest service in the world. So you're always in alignment with spirit, with the divine, and you're always using your greatest abilities with highest integrity.
Awesome.
And so we teach you and give you all the ways of being able to maintain that.
Awesome.
Okay. So any comments? I mean, if you don't have questions, any reactions to what I shared?
Yeah, I think I'm really, I could see, because though you are saying that this whole life crafting thing has been for multiple decades, right? So I could see that how you have upgraded even the business, like launch paradigms and the concepts, because internet came only like 20 years back. So
Right.
before that, I think, so you have upgraded those paradigms because 20 years
Right.
back, people were doing brick and mortar business, but now in last 20 years, specifically in last 10-15 years, people are doing more and more online. They have the option of doing online business also. So,
well, actually, the truth is, Neetu, if we go way back to the mid or late 1980s or the early 1990s, and we look at what we were doing back then, you're like, well, what people were still doing healing and training and coaching and mentoring, and people were still being drawn to life crafting as a means to create a business from alternative, non-traditional, pathways. The only difference was they didn't have any way to market it online. They marketed it through conventional means of going out to events and networking and public speaking and other forms of advertising that were, that were in vogue at the time. There were many different forms of advertising that have long since been abandoned because they're, not as effective as online. But for example, give you an example of regarding Clarity Dialogue. We had a lot of groups through the 80s and the 90s where the group, a live 3-day weekend intensive, where people would get together. I all have books of letters. You can read the letters people wrote about what they experienced with extraordinary, it brings tears to your eyes. And we didn't have any online software. We didn't have computers. We didn't have anything. And we had a woman sit in the back of the room with colored markers. She had all different colored markers. And we'd have a whiteboard in front, right? And I would interact with the person, and we would do Clarity Dialogue on the whiteboard. And while I was doing the Clarity Dialogue, and the group would add their thoughts and comments, my assistant Catherine would sit in the back of the room with all the colored markers, and she would create on paper the exact map that we were doing on the whiteboard. Okay, but the person who I was doing it with, they didn't know that this was all being done for them. So when
Mm-hmm.
we were done, Catherine would come up and present them with this incredibly beautiful colored map of the whole process that they just went through and
Okay.
their experience right in front. So just share that to see, we didn't need technology. We didn't know there was any such possible technology. We just
Mm-hmm.
used what we had to create the end result of really what they wanted, and people still got that result, you know?
Yeah. No, I think my point was, I understood your point. So whether technology is just helping you bring those business process
Yeah,
automation,
yes,
kind of, but
right.
my thought was around launching digital businesses, like launching
Yeah, oh
online,
yeah, oh,
like
absolutely. Today is the ultimate time in the history of the world to create your own wonderful business. It's never been a better time
right,
to be an entrepreneur, but a conscious, aware, spiritually based entrepreneur doing what you came here to do.
right.
That's the gift, and there's never really been a better time for people to do that.
So yeah, so I think you have upgraded those paradigms in your
Yeah,
module. So I
yeah,
can
we're
see.
always upgrading. We never stop. It's a continue. Either I do it or I
So that
pass the ball to somebody and they do it, and it's a team now. It's become a team thing where I have people all over doing different aspects and advancing our toolkit, in
that's
different
nice.
ways. And I'm observing, watching, and delegating, and then and then combining it all together again.
Awesome.
Anyway, this has been a fantastic call, and I just so much appreciate your doing this with me. So we really have this beautiful video that people can watch.
Yeah, that was great call.
Yeah, and what we may use it for people who are not in the program to give them a sense of what actually takes place.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, wonderful. So thank you, and I welcome you again, and we'll be working closely together. And any questions or anything, we send them to me, and I will work with you on the way in which you'll be doing the written exercises. I want to discuss that with you. So some things there that we want to work out with you. So
Sure,
I'll be in touch with you on how to best do that.
sure. Sounds
Okay,
good.
wonderful. Well, thanks a lot again. Have a great weekend. We'll be in touch soon.
Sure, you too.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye bye.